Welcome, Brian Booth, CEO of Element 29, an up-and-coming copper exploration company, development stage company with two assets in Peru. Brian, you bring a plethora of experience, over 30 years in this business. And when I saw your CV, what struck me was that you were part of the Inco team that got involved in the development or in the exploration of Voisey's Bay way back when, right?
Yes,
that's quite a feat.
I was the first geologist sent to evaluate Voisey's Bay by Inco when it was discovered.
Okay, great. Well, but at least you can. That's an early huge success in your personal career as a mining engineer, or it's you are.
I'm a geologist.
Geologist, but with a lot of let's say engineering skills, I would say, over the time.
Yeah, well, more of the downstream economic evaluation experience that I gained through my 20 years at Inco.
Wow. And obviously you are not a novice to Peru. You run another Peruvian project. You developed a copper resource there. It doesn't resonate with me. Maybe if it's appropriate, just talk about it for 1 second. Pecoy is the name.
Yeah, sure. So after I left Lakeshore Gold, the founders and I of Lakeshore Gold started a new company called Pembroke Mining.
Yes.
It's a copper company in Peru. I worked for them for 10 years.
Yes.
We discovered the Pecoy porphyry privately, which is why it's not widely known in the market because it never went public. It's a large porphyry, almost 1 billion tons of resource, and we took that through a preliminary economic assessment and then an optimization engineering study. So I've done all of that in Peru, got lots of experience doing these advanced studies and coordinating those contractors that we hired to do the studies.
Okay.
And to move it through. And that's why I'm excited about E29. Yes. I see a lot of parallels there, but I actually see higher grade than Pecoy at Alida and Florida Cobre, which excites me. Right?
Good. So the previous work, especially in Peru, serves as a blueprint, so to speak, for what you're about to undertake with two assets that I want you to expand a little bit more on, and that's why I hand over the presentation to you just on a very high level, 5 minutes, and then we get back to a Q&A.
Well, the Element 29 story is a fairly concise and good story. It's a new copper opportunity for the market in Peru, based in Peru. Both projects have great infrastructure, close to the coast, low elevation, water access, and again, great locations. And they are in that higher grade category, which gives them really a good chance to be successful projects as we move forward. Both of these projects are not grassroots. Both Florida Cobre, which has a historic resource, 57 million tons of 0.7, that we will be working on and bringing through to more advanced work as we try to bring that into production as quickly as we can. And then we have a very large porphyry system with 5 individual porphyry centers called Alida. And that project, we will already have the targeted resource from our technical report of 500 million tons of better than 0.5 copper equivalent opportunity there that we will be drilling this year. And then we have 4 other targets there that we can grow that resource even more over the years to come through brownfields expansion drilling. And that would make it a very significant porphyry if those are successful explorations. So when you add the two companies together, we're unique. Most companies have one really world-class asset. We have 2. And we have optionality. We can take that Florida Cobre Candelaria historic deposit and we can actually build that mine. The capex for that, very manageable for a junior mining company. And it still has all that exploration potential to grow it to a very large porphyry system in addition to the known entity that we have on the project. So that sets us apart from a lot of our peer group.
Yeah, and both of those projects would be referred to as porphyries, but when we spoke previously, you mentioned that both of them have a supergene, let's say, overprint, which lends them to an easier processing, at least initially, so that you would not have to go through the full capex of a full, let's say, porphyry project, which can cost billions of dollars, as you know. And I think there's even one current project being developed. I have a hard time, let's say, pronouncing it. Quellaveco, I think, is the one.
Yeah, Quellaveco.
Quellaveco in Peru that you talked about also in an earlier conversation.
Yeah, it's in the plus $2 billion range, yeah, to develop. You know, it would be several hundred million for a SXEW plant, and as you pointed out, we yes, have that enrichment material in the historic resource at Candelaria, Flor de Cobre, that we would be looking to develop ourselves. But in addition, we have the secondary target on the same property called Atravesado, where there's evidence that we could have additional enrichment material to add to a plant if we built one there from that deposit. And then, of course, as you said, we have all the sulfide potential at depth within both those systems. And we also have that at Alida. We have targets 2 and 3 on the project show the same characteristics. So we could have high-grade enrichment zone even at Alida, and we will be targeting that in the near future.
Yeah, actually, Brian, to me, this enrichment is really the key to this story, because otherwise, I'm always a little bit loath when explorers tackle these big porphyries, because that means an awful lot of drilling, and ultimately there's a risk that those companies get stuck with a huge capex, and that's you go into this already seeing being very much aware of that issue, and that's why your focus is going to be on the, let's say, low-hanging fruit, and to start with a lower capex initial project, but with still the potential below that, as you indicated. Why don't you run us through the presentation on a very high level, and then we'll have a couple of more questions here.
Sure. So basically, I won't go into all of our skill sets, but our board and management team are very experienced in Peru. Yes. And we have all bases covered, whether it's capital markets. We have a mineral economics former professor to help us drive the business model going forward. The founding people that were part of the discoveries of these projects for past information and how things got developed. And then we've just added a VP exploration who's a career porphyry PhD expert who worked for the major mining company Teck. And he's now going to drive the value creation in the ground with the targeting for all the drilling, etc. We have a very tight structure to the project. We have about 80 million shares outstanding, and so there's a lot of growth opportunities in the stock for our shareholders to add value as we increase the market cap of the company with the deliverables that we'll outline over the next year.
Just to remind us, the company was floated, I think, early this year.
We went public on December 9th at 50 cents per share.
And raised
we raised about 6.8 million, which is plenty of money to take us into 2022 and achieve our preliminary goals in drilling and building resources.
Yeah, I think currently we're even trading slightly below the issue price at the time.
Yes, we're trading at around 46 cents.
Yeah.
We're just getting started. So the opportunities to grow that with our market awareness plan is excellent.
So just roughly speaking, at current levels, that gives us, let's say $35 million market cap, or where are we?
Yep. And, a lot of our peer group are in the multiple $100 million market caps for projects that are comparable to ours.
Yet with the one difference that they will probably already have compliant resources. That's one of the things that you are targeting for this season or for this campaign, to transfer historic resources into compliant resources. Is that
That's correct. At Florida Cobre, we will modernize that resource and come up with a 43-101 estimate, and we will come up with a maiden resource at Alida. So that would start us in the path to being measured at the same way as these other market caps that are already floating at $200 to $300 million range. They have compliant, 43-101 estimates, and sometimes they even have PEAs. Yes. So we're on that path, and when we get there, we should get re-rated.
How, what's the let's say prospective timeline on this work? Do you think you can finalize this towards the, let's say, fourth quarter this year, or is it taking probably a little longer to get this?
No, subject to getting our drill permits, but we've got flexibility there because we can always add more drills, and get the job done faster. Because logistics to both these projects is excellent. So moving 2 drills in instead of having 1, you shorten the time. So we have all of those possibilities. So reaching our goal at both Alida for the fourth quarter, we hope to have some kind of resource, maiden resource, and at Florida Cobre, that would probably flow into early 2022 when we get things done.
Yes. And I think you were even already considering to have a kind of a high-level preliminary economic assessment on Florida Cobre.
We're going at Florida Cobre. Once we have the resource done, the drilling that we will do there, we will take the core and we will start the leach testing for metallurgical recoveries. Yeah. And on the strength of that test work, we will already be starting the engineering studies and engaging with some of the contractors to get a high level sort of, where would we tap into power lines, where would we obtain water, where would we put our infrastructure, etc. And those can all be done at the desktop level, just like our peer group. But we need that resource to be a new estimate, and we need the metallurgical recoveries, and then we can drive that to a PEA in 2022.
So really make it a development story as opposed to an exploration play.
Correct.
Which really is the development. That's where you bring in the extra expertise, and where your team really, looking at the experience of your team, really has everything that it takes to advance these types of assets. So
that's right. And as we move forward, we will start to bring on a transition team, which would be more towards the development phase, and then operations down. And we're looking several years down the track here, but still that would be our normal plan. I'm quite prepared and familiar to take things through the various studies. And then, you build an operating team once you get to those decision points.
Yeah. I think we've covered quite a bit. Why don't you walk again towards the end of the presentation, just to check whether we've missed a couple of items here?
So basically our plan, and we have the money for 2021 and into 2022. Yes. Some of that 2022 work we can maybe bring forward. We're looking at that opportunity, but we anticipate that we would get started at Alida first, and we would go in there. We've already got all the drill program done in its planning stages, including COVID protocols and all the protocols that need to go in with my VP of exploration. The plan is already done. So we would start that drilling. We would finish that drilling in several months. And then we would get the results back as we go. There are labs in Peru to use. that we've identified, and from that we would, build the block model and come up with a maiden resource at Alida in 2021.
By the way, Brian, how much are you being required to be over and down there in Peru in person? I think that is challenging currently with the COVID regime.
We have the benefit of a general manager there, Manuel Montoya, and a team that we are assembling, and we've already started that hiring process. And so we can, my experience with Pocoy is most of the time I ran that project from here on a daily basis. I was able to, through satellite communications, we were able to, direct the drilling, follow the drilling, and do all that. So we have a team there, a local team that we're familiar with, experienced, that we can get the work done remotely. And once things open up, then certainly travel from our people here in Vancouver will open up and we'll start to go down again.
But in general terms, COVID is not hampering the work, maybe delaying one or the other thing on the ground, maybe like the permitting or something. We're first of all, there are government protocols that are required for COVID, which we've now gotten. But we've also been reaching out to several other companies that are already drilling and seeing what best practices have worked and what hasn't. And we're developing a subsidiary program to ensure that we can keep our people as safe as possible. Good. Okay. Maybe we turn to the last page and wrap it up here. So why invest? We're a brand new copper company. These are new projects to the market. They both fall into the upper grade categories. They're in great locations with great infrastructure. We have a good, tight share structure. We have the team to be able to move these forward with a lot of experience in Peru. So a lot of the risk factors have been really reduced on these projects. And again, these are advanced. We're benefiting from probably $10+ million of already spent money in these projects. And we're just going to take them forward. There's a clear path here towards more advanced work. So we've really lessened the risk. We're not grassroots. And so there's a lot less speculation in terms of the value creation that we can do. Beautiful. On the money spent, that wasn't spent by Canadian companies. It was spent by who? It was mostly spent by Lundin Mining and Phelps Dodge. Okay. And they divested of those two assets because they were non-core, or? Well, the Phelps Dodge, it was the timing. In the 1990s, you needed more than 1% copper to be economic because copper was $1 a pound. And today at $4 a pound, well, 0.5 is an excellent grade. Yes, agreed. And the same thing with the Alida project. It was just money considerations at Lundin. They were going to buy the large deposit in Serbia, and they needed to conserve cash, so they cut their entire exploration budget. And I think it wasn't E29 purchasing it, but it was a related group, a Globetrotter, I guess. It's a let's say a project generator, and part of their backers are our backers still, so there's a continuing relationship with them. Correct. The founders are the same. That's correct. Yeah. Great. I think we should close this with one remark regarding the investment climate vis-a-vis Peru. And that's bringing me back to this Quellaveco of mine. I think that is a major investment that is currently going into Peru of several $1 billion, actually. I think, maybe you put that into perspective with another project that we mentioned at another conversation, which is the Marimaca copper, to maybe kind of frame the expectation a little bit of where E29 fits. Marimaca is located in Chile, and it's also an SXEW style enrichment deposit. And the amount of copper that they have in their deposit is very similar to what
amount of copper that we have on our projects, and their market cap is in that plus 300 million ton range. Now they're much more advanced than we are in terms of engineering studies, but we're on that path. So, with a $35 million market cap, in a few years, we will meet all of those studies as well. And so we should see that improvement in the metal, in the market capitalization price of our company as well.
So that Marimaca would be the immediate, or let's say nearer term target, but then the Quellaveco, that's certainly a little bit of more of a visionary thing. But
yes.
when we talked about it, Alida, as you pronounce it,
yes,
could well lend itself to be one of those.
Exactly, it has the size potential in terms of its footprint to be that order of magnitude size, and it also, just like Cerro Verde, has an enrichment possibility in the early years if we're successful on that, defining that in the exploration. But we certainly see that possibility and targeting. We see the same look of the rocks as you have over top of the enrichment zone at Florida Cobre, Candelaria. When you look at the rocks, you can see that they've been leached and they have all the veining, and we see the same rocks occurring at Alida. So we have that potential as well there for a much higher grade in the early years.
Yeah. So again, coming back to the news flow, the next set of news will relate to start of drilling, I guess.
Yes, well, once we get our permits, that will be disseminated to the market. That will be followed by mobilization of the drills and starting the program, and then results, and then culminating at the end of the year with the maiden resource at Alida. We'll have results hopefully for Florida Cobre before the end of the year, and then the resource estimate in early 2022. That's our forecast and plan as we anticipate it right now.
Okay, thank you, Brian. With that, we'll close it for today, and we're certainly going to watch this and follow this closely, and hope to catch up with you soon. With that, thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you, Sven.